I cannot believe I'm having to do this video, but here we are. The problem is not solved and I want to tell you about it so that you don't lose money like I did. G'day there, I'm Jess. I've been selling on Etsy since 2008. I've been teaching other people how to have thriving and profitable handmade businesses since 2010. I use Etsy. I recommend Etsy. But man, Etsy have really annoyed me this time and I'm here to tell you why. If you are a seller outside of the USA, you must watch this video because I'm about to tell you something that is going to save you money, time, and frustration. Okay, a little bit of background. I am talking today about Etsy's domestic and global pricing setting. I did a video on this way back when they first released it because I was so excited. It was such an awesome thing. It meant that those of us outside of the US could offer free US shipping because we could charge a different price for our domestic items to our international sales, and that meant we could roll our shipping prices into our product prices and offer free shipping, which of course on Etsy means you get a bit of a boost in search and you get that nice little free shipping label on your products. This setting worked great for a while, but then Etsy rolled out their new listing design on the back end. Those of you who've been around for a while remember that we used to have an old listing page. You know, when you went in to set up a new listing, it looked a certain way. And then a few years ago, they started testing a new one. And then they rolled it out for everyone about a year or so ago now. And that is, I think that is when the problem started. From the research I've done, that seems to be where things started going wrong. Now, I've done a video on this issue before because it cropped up for me in about July this year, and I'll put a link to that up here too, but this is the updated, more informative version of that video. So if you don't see that one, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know basically in this one today. So I'm going to tell you why you should not be using this setting ever. Even though it is there, even though it is awesome, it is not working, and it has not been working properly for approximately 2 years now, and Etsy refused to fix it. From the information I could find, which was from 2020, so I'm sure it's not completely accurate anymore, but at the time, about 38% of Etsy sellers were outside of the US. Millions and millions of sellers. So this is affecting potentially millions of people. If this issue has affected you, please tell me in the comment below. Give this video a thumbs up so it reaches more people and it will help them to avoid this problem themselves. I've heard so many people tell me this has happened to them on threads, in Etsy forums, in YouTube comments, and elsewhere. In my membership, the Thriver Circle, I've had my members tell me that this has happened to them, and it is so incredibly frustrating. So what exactly is happening? So when you have this enabled, what you can do is you can go into your listing and you can set two different prices, as I mentioned. You can set a domestic price and you can set an international price. So for everywhere else outside of your country. And as I mentioned, what this means is you can do free shipping, not only domestically, but internationally, and not lose money on your ridiculous international shipping charges, because they generally are, especially here from Australia. It costs me like $30 to ship to the US from here. It's a lot, right? So this was a great idea, and if it was working, I would still be using it. But today we switched it off, and this is what has happened. So I first noticed this happening in my shop, like I said, in late July. I noticed a couple of my sales where Etsy had charged an international customer the domestic price. And it took me a while to realize this because I just assumed everything was working. Of course you do. And it was only when I looked at a particular order and went, wait a second, they've just paid the Australian price for that. And it twigged, and I was like, oh my God, has this happened before? And I went back and I looked at multiple past international sales, and I found a couple that this has happened on, and I started freaking out going, oh my God, what is happening? Why is this happening? And I started researching it, and I found so many posts on the Etsy forum where this had happened to other people. And the response from Etsy, some people got a refund from Etsy themselves. In other words, Etsy had reimbursed them the difference between the domestic and international price. Other people, Etsy had told them to reach out to the customer and ask for more money. Now, I'm repeating what I've seen on the forum, so I can't judge the veracity of this. I've not seen these people's conversations with Etsy, so this is hearsay, but this is what people have said. And other people have said Etsy just kind of brushed them off, right? Okay, so this was what happened to me. I saw this, and I obviously been on Etsy a very long time, and I've been a seller in good standing for a very long time, and I have the little chat window in my dashboard. So I started a chat and I said, hey, this is what had happened. And because I'd seen that other people had been reimbursed, I just flat out asked them to reimburse me and asked them when this was going to be fixed and how I could make sure this wasn't going to happen in my shop again. And I got this backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards. They did reimburse me. Okay, so they paid the difference. They gave me a technique to use in order to apparently fix the problem. And then they said, this should fix it for you. Please do this on the desktop. Don't do this on the app. And this is what they told me to do. And this is what I subsequently did. You go into your listing. So you go in on your desktop, you go into the listing, you turn off international, domestic and global shipping. So there's a little toggle, okay, where you can turn it on and off. So you turn it off, then you save the product listing. You go back into it, it's turned off. Then you turn it back on, fix up the prices, and save the product listing. And this is what Etsy told me to do, and they said, try this fix. And I'm like, great, I'm glad to hear there might be something, maybe because these prices, I set them before they changed the listing system. I've had a lot of my products for like over a decade, right? So some of these products, the prices, I had not changed them since I first set up domestic and global shipping, domestic and global pricing, which I think was in like 2021 possibly. I'd have to double check. It was a few years ago now. So I did that. I went through all 193 or whatever products it is that I have in my shop, and I did this fix, right? Thought, okay, great. Sounds like that's fixed the problem. And I checked. So I went in to my dashboard and I looked at the listing window where you see multiple products, right? And you can click on your sections. I went in there, checked it, everything looked good. I asked Nick, my husband, who works with me in the business, I'm like, can you add this to your weekly jobs to go in to the listing window in the dashboard and just scroll, because I'm not, who has time to go into each individual product every week or every bloody day and check that the prices haven't magically changed on you, right? So he started doing that. He started checking it from that front listing window, and we thought everything was fine. So again, I wasn't, I was like, everything's fine, it's been fixed. And then it happened again, just recently. Now it's now November. This was the first time this all happened and I got reimbursed and thought I'd fixed it was in August. So I noticed that it had happened again. And look, during this time, I will say, we saw some prices break themselves and we had been diligently fixing them. Okay, so whenever we looked on that front window and suddenly a price had defaulted to the domestic and international price being the same, we would go into the listing, turn off domestic and global shipping, save the listing, go back in there, turn it back on, fix the prices, save the listing. And this was a regular occurrence. But then I noticed that we had another sale where it had been wrong. And I'm like, what is going on? I thought we had gone in and done the fix for this, right? And then I went back and checked some of my previous sales, and again, they were wrong. Now, this is on me. I should have been more diligent with checking that my international customers were being charged correctly, but I was just like, I just assumed it was okay. More fool me. I shouldn't have assumed. And I found like 5 sales over the last few months. Not all of them. This is the frustrating thing. It's not like it's broken for all the sales, because you never bloody know when the price is going to magically break itself. Okay, sometimes they're fine, sometimes they're not. Now, my theory, and I haven't proven this because I don't want to waste time and money and energy trying to test it and make mistakes. Anyway, my theory is what's happening is when you sell out of a product and you have to manually renew it or relist it more accurately, or when a product expires and is relisted back into your shop. My theory is that has something to do with when it breaks. Well, that was my theory, but now that theory seems wrong because of what I'm about to tell you. So this happened again. I was like, I reached out to Etsy again and went, so the fix didn't work. Here's a bunch of sales where it was incorrectly charged again, even though I was checking it and trying to stay on top of it. Even though this is your fault, you haven't fixed the glitch that keeps happening in your software. It's not me changing my prices. Your software is changing my prices without my consent. And I gave them the list of, I think it was 5 products. And they were like, oh, the lady on chat was like, oh, I have to take this further, you know, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, because I mentioned the history. I was like, this has happened before. I have done all these things right that you've told me to do. What's going on? Please refund me the difference for these products because your software has mucked up and not charged my customers the right amount of money and cost me money. That's like $30 a sale it's cost me because of the international shipping cost. And she, you know, was like, oh, can I email you? And so she emailed me back the next day and was like, you know, because we've already refunded you for some of these before, we're not going to refund you for all of them again. Here's a token $50 payment when they owed me about $150. Make sure you go in, and again told me the same fix that they had told me multiple times before. And I was not satisfied with that. Now, I actually have a contact at Etsy who works in community outreach. And the first time this happened, I actually reached out to her and asked to comment on it. And she was like, oh, you know, sorry about this. I'll escalate it, blah, blah, blah. This time around, I was like, I'm just going to deal with the support people. And if it doesn't get fixed, I'm going to, again, reach out to her because I'm like, this is ridiculous. And honestly, I'm probably going to send her this video and just tell her what's going on because this is really terrible. It is costing people money, like serious amounts of money. And I don't understand why they have not fixed it. Like, how difficult can it possibly be? How deeply broken is the software that they can't go in and make this change, right? Anyway, so to get back to the story, I was like, nah, I'm not accepting this. This is your fault and problem. I have not done anything wrong. So I emailed them again and I chat again and I got a different person this time, you know, and I said, no, this is not my fault. I have diligently been checking this. When I did the first fix, when I went through and fixed my whole shop that first time, I screenshotted my entire shop. The listings, from the listings window, I went through and screenshotted every single page to show that I had fixed the prices. Or I thought I did. I'm still getting to that. So I was like, no, this is not acceptable. I want, you know, I expect a full refund for this and I want to know when this is being fixed. Day later, got an email. Okay, here's your refund. They refunded me the full amount. So do not let them get away with not refunding you the difference. If you keep pushing, they will. Okay, so they refunded me the full difference this time. And again, told me to do the fix. I don't know how many times by this point I had told them that I had done this already multiple times. As in I'd done the fix multiple times to different listings. I did my whole shop and then I was doing them one by one when the software was breaking my prices again. So at this point I just gave up. I did not even bother replying to this message because I'm like, you're not listening to me. You don't care. I've asked so many times when this is going to be fixed. They just completely ignore that question every single time. I think by this point they just know they're never going to fix it and they don't want to say anything about it. Because earlier on in like August, when I was talking about this, they would say, oh, we're going to raise this with our engineering team. And I actually had one of them say that I actually mentioned all the forum posts from the past few years and linked to a couple of them and said, this is not just my problem. Tons of people are having this issue and have been for ages. What is going on? And they told me that that old problem had been fixed and this was a new one. Yeah. So basically, I just thought, you know what? Screw it. This might cost me sales, and it probably will, but I'm just going to turn this off because I cannot deal with this anymore. It is ridiculous, and they're not fixing it. So today we decided we would switch it off. And what that means is we can still offer free shipping domestically because we can roll it into our price. But now we have to charge shipping separately for our American and other international customers, which means we lose the free shipping guarantee. Them's the breaks. It's what we have to do because I don't want to keep dealing with this problem. And then this is where it got really frustrating. So I was talking to Nick. He's like, okay, I went in and I updated the delivery profile to add all the shipping costs, blah, blah, blah. I went into the bulk edit and edited my descriptions to change it from free track shipping for everybody to free track shipping for domestic orders, but only, tracking for international orders, but no free shipping. And I'm like, okay, Nick, I have done all of this. Can you please go through, because you have to go into every listing individually. You can't do this in bulk, and turn off the domestic and global shipping setting and make sure the price is the domestic price. He's like, cool, yep, add it to my to-do list for today. And then a few minutes in, he's like, Jess, you want to come in and have a look at this? And this is what I saw. I saw that even though on the listings page in the dashboard, all the prices were correct in that there was an Australian price and an international price and they were different, when you click through to about Nick estimates about 60% of the listings, the price was wrong. Both prices were the domestic price in the actual individual listing, even though on the listings page on the dashboard, they were different. And herein lies why this was probably still happening to us, because we thought we were checking it and keeping on top of it because we just looked at those listing pages. We didn't go into every individual listing because you assume the price that's on that page is the same as the price in the listing page. Yeah, because that's the price you set. Apparently not. Let me show you exactly what that looks like. I want to prove this and have it on video that this is happening. Okay, so here we are in the listings section of my shop, right? So I am in my everyday rings section. Now, I have 190 something products, right? So what I've been doing to make sure that my product prices are correct is I've just been looking in here, because as you can see here, see it's got Australia 120, everywhere else 150. Right? So those are the two prices. That Australia is my domestic price and 150 is my global price, because the shipping is included in the price in both instances. And of course, shipping overseas is way more expensive, unfortunately. So you can see I've got here, and if you look on this screen, if you look at each one of these, 120, 150, 75, 95, 55, 85, 55, 85, 95, 120, and each one is different, right? Okay, so I've been in here, I've been checking this, thinking, oh, well, the prices are accurate, aren't they? Because look, it's got the two different prices. No, it's not. Let's have a look at what happens when I actually go into the editing field of these products. I'm going to open the first row of products up here, okay? So this is 5 products out of my shop. Here's the first one. Scroll down. Okay, Australian price 120, everywhere else 150. Cool, that's what it said on the front. Let's go to the second one. Oh, hang on a second. Australian price 120, everywhere else 120. What? That product here is 100. It says in this part of the shop that it says it's 120 and 150. No, but when I go into see, this is the same product. When I go into here, 120, 120. Let's do the next one. 75, 75. What? Look, on the front end, it says 75 and 97. What is going on? There is a glitch. Not only and sometimes it's even wrong on this screen. So sometimes, and that's what I've been changing. I've only been changing it when it was wrong in this part of the listing, because I figured, what it's showing me here should be correct. But it is not. We've just discovered this today because we're turning this off because it is not working and it is costing us time and money. 55.85. Okay, that one's correct. 55.55. Out of 5 products that I have just checked, all of which say on this screen that the prices are different, 3 of them, the prices had defaulted to domestic shipping. There is a serious glitch, and Etsy are not interested in fixing it, as far as I can tell, because they keep telling me the same thing. They keep saying, go in and edit your listing, turn off domestic and global shipping, okay, and then save it, and then go back in, turn it back on, and then fix the prices. I have done that for every single listing in my shop at least once, and then every single time I've noticed an error, every single time we've sold something that was the wrong price, I've gone in and done that again. And this problem is still going on. So yeah, we have now gone through our entire shop. We have switched this off, and until the day comes, when Etsy tells us this has been fixed, which I don't think will ever happen, I will not be switching this setting back on, and I will be telling everybody, all my students, not to use this setting because I don't want them to get into this issue. And I will be sharing it. I've shared a bit about it on Threads. I'll share a bit about it on Instagram when I publish this video. I will probably put this up somewhere in my membership so that people have access to it and know about it, because I do not want anyone else going through the stress of dealing with this. Now, some of you might have been watching this and you're here at this point and you're thinking, why are you still on Etsy? Like, they have so many issues. This is like obviously a really big one that's actually costing people money, and various other problems. 100%. Etsy is not what it used to be. It is a very frustrating platform these days. They speak a good game, but don't back it up in a lot of cases. That being said, I need Etsy. That's where I get most of my sales, and they come from Etsy search. And honestly, unfortunately, there is no good alternative at this point. There is no good global alternative for handmade where you get that amount of traffic and that amount of sales without driving the traffic directly yourself. So for those of us who are still on Etsy, that's why we're there, because this is not a hobby. This is our livelihood, and we have to do what we have to do to keep sales coming in the door, right? So that is why I am still on Etsy, even though they frustrate me. I think there's still good people at Etsy. I think there's people there who still care. And I like to think that they're doing their best to keep commerce human, even though there's a lot going against them. And I know that Etsy is focused primarily on pleasing their shareholders, which means keeping profits up, which is why I'm amazed they haven't fixed this problem, because it's costing them money. Like, how many people are there out there like me who have had this problem and who've asked Etsy to give them the money that the customer should have been charged? So this is actually costing them money to pay this back. They've paid me like hundreds of dollars because of this out of Etsy's pocket, because they did not charge my customers correctly, and they know it. They wouldn't be paying me if they didn't know that this was their fault, right? So that is why I am still on Etsy. That is why I still recommend Etsy as a good place to start, despite their problems, despite this glitch, which I'm very unhappy about, as I'm sure you can tell from this video. There is no perfect solution. You know, there's no other, at this point in time, as far as I'm aware, there is no other good competitive handmade selling platform that works globally, right? That has the traffic and the reach that Etsy has. I would love to see a competitor come along. It would be really lovely and awesome if that did happen. And I know there's some smaller competitors out there in domestic markets. Like, I know there's like Go Imagine in the US that's trying to grow. Here in Australia, we've got Made It. In England, you guys have a couple. I think you've got like Holly & Co, I think, is a new one. And then there's not on the high street. Is that still going? There's Folksy. You know, there's those domestic ones, and they're great, and highly recommend checking those out within your country as well. But there's nothing quite like Etsy for the business it will bring you. And that is why I personally am still there, because this is my livelihood. But I tell you what, it's getting harder. It's getting harder to be on that platform and to be happy about being on the platform, especially when things like this are happening to people and they just don't seem to care about it, and they just don't seem to care about fixing it for us. And it makes me really sad. It really does. And I would like to think that they will one day care enough about their international sellers. I mean, I remember the days where they had outreach. They used to have branches in like Australia and the UK and Germany, and I worked with those people. You know, I worked with the Australian branch of Etsy back when that existed. I did a whole educational program for them that they hired me to do, and it was really fun and it was really great. And those were like the heydays of Etsy, where it was all really positive and they really did care about handmade. And it makes me really, really sad that that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And I know we can't go backwards, but I really hope it does improve going forwards. But all we can do is keep speaking out about the things that they're doing wrong, praise them for the things they're doing right, and be thankful for those things, and hope that it gets better, or hope that someone else comes along that enables us who are small independent handmade sellers to actually reach people and make a living from our craft. Now, if you want the backstory on this, I'll link the last video I did on this here for more details about that. And in that video, I'm pretty sure I linked to the very first one on this, so you can kind of watch everything backwards. But either way, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if you haven't already, has this happened to you? Or are you an international seller who this has not yet happened to? Because it seems to be random as to who it affects and when it affects us. But once it affects you, it doesn't seem to go away. It's like a bad virus. Just you can't get rid of. Let me know in the comments below. And please share this. If you are in some sort of community of Etsy sellers outside of the US, please share this with them so that they can watch out for this problem and make sure it's not happening to them. Thanks for watching, Thrivers, and I'll catch you in the next video.